Tell Us About Yourself is sponsored by bonusround.ca, streaming Canada's classic game shows on demand. Dive into the golden age of television with thousands of episodes of Canadian series that defined an era from anywhere in the world, all for just $1.99 a month. From iconic shows like Let's Make a Deal and Definition to cult classics like Bumper Stumpers and The Mad Dash, bonusround.ca brings you timeless entertainment that's fun, enlightening, and affordable. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, relive the magic of Canadian television history. Subscribe now at bonusround.ca for $1.99 and turn every night into game show night. By Game Show Forensics. Join host Robert McKee and his crack team of forensic game show scientists as they take you on the deepest dives imaginable in a quest to analyze the most detailed minutia of game shows nobody else dares to, or cares to, investigate. Nothing is too whimsical for examination, no semantics too absurd for the research extremists at GameShowForensics.com. Parental discretion is advised. And by The Inn at Leola Village. Nestled in the heart of picturesque Pennsylvania, The Inn at Leola Village is a sanctuary of luxury and relaxation. Indulge in the timeless beauty of their historic suites, each meticulously designed to transport you to a bygone era of elegance and grace. Experience the culinary delights of their award-winning Italian restaurant, where every dish is a masterpiece crafted from the finest local ingredients. From romantic getaways to corporate retreats, the Inn at Leola Village offers a haven for every occasion. Unwind at the spa, stroll through the lush gardens, and let the stress of everyday life melt away. Make your reservation today at theinnatleolavillage.com or call the front desk at area code 717-656-7002. The Inn at Leola Village, an oasis of luxury. Tell Us About Yourself. Conversations with Game Show Contestants is produced in partnership with the Strong National Museum of Play in Rochester, New York, one of the largest history museums in the United States, and one of the leading museums serving families with highly interactive exhibits and programs. Since 1968, the Strong Museum has been dedicated to exploring the ways in which play encourages learning, creativity, and discovery, and how it illuminates cultural history. And their National Archives of Game Show History. Founded by industry veterans Bob Bowden and Howard Blumenthal, the archive is home to thousands of artifacts representing over 80 years of broadcasting, including props, set designs, video interviews with game show professionals, and other iconic elements from the history of television at play. For more information about the National Archives of Game Show History or the Strong National Museum of Play, visit museumofplay.org or call area code 585-263-2700.
Blue 35.
Tell us about yourself, would you?
Tell us something about you.
For any new viewers, why don't you tell us again about yourself?
We've met before, but let's meet again. Tell us about
What
yourself.
else can you tell us about yourself?
Perhaps you'd fill us in again and tell us about yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm not Christian Carrion. I am in fact Cory Anotado, the executive producer of Tell Us About Yourself. Chris is a little under the weather this week. He'll be back next week with an absolute banger of an episode that I cannot wait for you all to listen to. Until then, I sat down this week and talked with Karen Chu, a podcaster and graphic designer originally from Taipei, Taiwan. A very interesting story about how she started there and ended up defeating Brad Rutter on her way to $400,000 on the chase. Karen, tell us about yourself.
Hello, I am Karen Chu. I am from Taipei, Taiwan, and I'm a graphic designer at a video game company called Valve.
Val, wait, I've heard of them. They make some things. They make games I don't play.
It's funny because like now my social circle is all parents of the kids, of my kids' classmates. So now I have to follow up with Valve, a video game company, versus my life before kids was like I'm surrounded by people in the gaming industry. So it's like I don't have to give that that definition there.
Do kid? I mean, I guess it's different from like when I was a kid. When I was a kid, like there weren't as many video games or things to play, so I don't think, I knew all of the big publishers. Do kids today I guess they don't recognize Valve like they do, like we did back then?
I don't know. I assume I would say little kids to teenagers are probably more familiar with the Epic Game Store, Roblox, those kind of gaming, I guess, platforms or delivery service. Valve, or Steam, I feel like skews a little older.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I cannot wait to dive into how you got there. But
okay,
let's start at the beginning. Tell us about yourself growing up, family, things like that.
It might be surprising because my accent is so Americanized, but I grew up in Taipei, Taiwan in the 80s and in the 90s, and it is this one small island off of Asia. And growing up, Taiwan was such a cool place to grow up in because it was such a crossroads of modern and tradition. And so a lot of us know how to speak English because it's taught in schools, but also like I remember when I had to like walk to the park, I would walk by like water buffaloes. And and the technology scene is so advanced too, but like there's just such a cool juxtaposition. And so part of the reason why I got into, American pop culture and especially game shows is that back then we had no real contact with kind of Western pop culture. Like you really have to go to specialty stores to buy a CD or to buy a magazine, and they're like, double the price. And so my aunt who lived in America would just tape things, videotape, VHS, like shows in America, and then send it to us, and we'd watch that. And that's kind of our fix of American pop culture. And like, I mean, I think growing up as a kid, I was like desperately wanted to be like super American and wanted to like eat cereal. Like we didn't have cereal. And so when I hear about it, wow, what a cool American thing. And you have to go to this one specialty store that had like American export things. That's probably kind of because of like there was a American base there.
No.
And so that was my introduction to Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, the show, the game show.
Right.
I had maybe, being generous, in my mind, I had like a whole full season, but I think maybe it was just 3 episodes on VHS tape. I'd watch it over and over again. And it was so outrageous. What a crazy show to get greenlit. There was like Rockapella. And you're like, wow, it's game show, it's real kids. There's people, and there's like kind of video gaming elements. And then at the end, the grand finale where they're like running around putting posts on a big map on the ground.
Oh yeah.
That was my dream. That was my dream. And it seemed like fantasy. It was like so far away. There's no way that I thought I could even be kind of close to that.
I want to rewind for a little bit and that's not a pun intended.
Oh,
I want to first dive into this deep. I want to understand, what was the impetus for your aunt sending you and your family VHS tapes of like American shows? Like, what do you know what started that or why that happened?
I don't know. Well, so my parents did go to school and worked and lived very briefly in the U.S. before I was born.
Okay.
And then they went back. They went back home to Taiwan for work or whatever. So I think so. They're kind of in tune with, they like American pop culture too. I grew up with like doo-wop 50s, 60s, rock and the music that they play. So they're kind of Americanophiles as well.
Okay.
And so yeah, that's how we got. Yeah, we had. Let's see, what else were on those tapes? Reading Rainbow.
Okay.
Facts of Life.
Oh wow.
Some episodes of The Cosby Show, and let's see. Oh, Supermarket Sweep. What an amalgamation. I think my aunt just like pressed record during the daytime and was like, well, whatever hits. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out exactly what your family's recording, because if you're going from if you have Carmen Sandiego, then you're putting it on PBS a little bit and Reading Rainbow. If you're Supermarket Sweep, back then I think would have been on either the PAX channel or Lifetime, so there's cable involved.
Wow.
And then Facts of Life and Cosby Show, if you're also getting Carmen Sandiego, that's in syndication at that point. So yeah, I think someone's just turning on the TV and just watching TV all day and recording it too, which is fascinating in its own right. So, well, now I'm interested. What was there any like Taiwanese media that you ingested that you remember fondly appreciating?
Yeah, like there were some crazy fantasy shows. I think this was memed. I forgot what the name was, like Beep Boop or something. There's like this one alien that farts.
Okay,
that's memed. It's like a person in a suit, like maybe a little person in a suit. That was like a weird kind of Chinese fantasy show. A lot of drama, a lot of historical drama. Toys R Us. I remember when Toys R Us opened. The first Toys R Us opened in Taiwan, and that was A, like, oh my God, we get a little bit of America. B, it was all localized. Right. And so the theme song was in Mandarin Chinese. That's how I know the theme song first was in Chinese. And then I came here and I was like, oh, there's, of course there's an English version. But so
it's I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid.
Yes.
But in Mandarin.
Yeah.
Wow. That's wild. Wow. Okay. Were there game shows?
There were. So there was a Taiwan version of Wipeout, what we know as Wipeout here.
Okay, like a MXC.
MXC, yeah.
Or Takeshi's Castle, I guess.
There was also a Takeshi Castle, like a Taiwan version.
Okay.
As well, not dubbed. Wow. So it's like they filmed it at like an amusement park in Taiwan.
Oh, cool.
What else? Yeah, there was talent shows. This is kind of the majority of. The majority of, like, I think the reason why I can read and speak Chinese very well is because, like, as a kid I watched a lot of TV. It's mandatory to have subtitles on all of the Asian programming, and so that's kind of like how it helps people read. And back then the subtitles were written. They weren't typed.
Oh my God.
There were, like, when they show up, you're like, oh, someone wrote Chinese characters that they would overlay. Which is wild, man.
That's wow. It's an incredible strain on
dating myself,
calligrapher's wrists. Okay, so now you have this kind of you have this very scattershot foundation of American pop culture. The viewpoint that you're getting from both Supermarket Sweep and the Facts of Life, no doubt, is coloring your view of America, I suppose, in a way.
Oh yes. Yes.
What is, at this point in your life, what is America to you?
It is a dream. It's instilled kind of to us that we're going to go to college in America and get our degree there and hopefully get a job and stay there. And it was, it's weird because it's not like growing up, oh, America is like a much better place. It was just kind of
Right.
like that's what we all should do. All kind of immigrant of this generation. That's kind of what we all are taught to do. And that was, I would say when I was in high school, that's when we got more of an influx of American, like kind of, it almost felt like the gates kind of opened. We had Disney Channel.
Oh, wow.
We started getting like, like crappy asylum straight to video movies. Like they would play that on TV, and like I had no idea that that's not a blockbuster hit. A lot of asylum shows. And so towards high school, it was Boy Meets World. We had more of a thing. Oh, South Park. We had South Park. It was dubbed in Chinese, localized to Chinese, Taiwan politics and pop culture references. Yeah, I'm sure that took a lot of work. But yeah, it was such like, God, for me, I remember Golden Grams. Like in my head, I was like, I just want Golden Grams, the cereal. Like that is the pinnacle of the dream. But yeah, that was it. I would say once I moved to America for college in 2000.
Okay.
So wrestling games on N64.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Big deal. What an era. So I played those games, I had the Famicom, the Japanese version of video games. And I had no idea WWF or WWE now was real-ish. Like I thought they were Street Fighter characters.
Right. Without the context of the culture, it does seem very over the top.
Yes. I mean, we had Japanese wrestling, but I didn't know Scotty 2 Hotty or, Rikishi. Like, I didn't know those people, or Kurt Angle. They were like real people. And they're like, oh, Kurt Angle won a gold medal in the Olympics. I was like, what? So when I moved here, I was like, oh my God. It's like, I went to my first wrestling show and I was like, oh, it's these characters, but they're real. They're coming to life.
I can imagine in my head how hard it would be to think that mankind was a real thing, like a real person. There's this overweight, curly-haired man with a sock on his hand beating the shit out of everyone else. That's so fascinating.
Undertaker's not a ghost? Yeah.
What? World building's crazy. So, okay. So now we're hitting... Oh, before we move to... coming to America, let's talk a little bit about like, what was did you have any like fascination with like trivia or anything like that in Taiwan? Tell me about that a little bit.
So, I have to credit my mom. I think when I was really, really young, I was like, I want video games. I want video games. I want video games as my present. And she would give me a video game, and I'm using air quotes, and it would be like a version of like a Speak and Spell, but like a math version of it. And she's like, here, play some video games. And I was like, wow, cool. We had PCs. And so I had MS-DOS versions of games. We also had, get this, we also had Scholastic book orders from America.
Really?
So we could order Scholastic book stuff. It just like took a really long time because
you could get an I Spy book
internationally
in Taiwan.
Yes. Oh my God, I love those.
Wow.
I Spy books. Some forms of computer games. Obviously, as a kid, I didn't want books. I wanted like the stickers and things that the kids and stuff. Who wants to read? But my mom. So my mom is an English teacher. She has like an English tutoring center in Taiwan, and so she would order, most of her school supplies from like Scholastic book orders. And so I'd kind of, wedge myself in. And that's where I get the I Spy books, kind of like, I wouldn't say, they didn't sell bathroom readers, but like something similar to that, where it's like a compilation of trivia. And I think That, and I remember I had a MS-DOS 5-inch floppy of Jeopardy.
Oh, the 4-color old guy, the old
Yes!
one. Yeah.
I
Classic.
was a child and
What the
I
hell?
didn't know. I mean, like, my English was so, but there are like words I didn't know, but
Yeah.
I taught myself to memorize every question and every answer. And so that I would like hustle against my much older sister and be like, let's play Jeopardy. And I'm like, yep, I know all of these. Or when you play video games and you're just by yourself, you're like, I'm gonna make I'm gonna control all three contestants. I'm gonna make
Yep.
two of them real crappy, and then I'm kind of weighting all the points and money to one candidate that I'd like.
The
We all
more
did that.
the more we have this conversation, the more I realize that we are the same human being. Because
Tyler Durden, yeah,
I distinctly remember playing not just the Jeopardy one, but the Wheel of Fortune one as well.
I had it on Game Boy Classic. Wheel
Oh,
of Fortune.
viewers, listeners cannot see this, but this is my
Ooh, you got a
this is my
Jazz
DMG.
Cup Game Boy.
Oh yeah, Wheel of Fortune somewhere in the mess behind me, but that's so fascinating. Like, so you basically brute forced learning every piece of trivia in the Jeopardy game.
Yes.
That's amazing.
I wonder how I fare now. Like if I still remember, or maybe I just know it now.
Yeah, it's because at what point does learning a fact become just you've memorized this clue, or have you contextualized it in everything that has come before and after you?
Yep. And that's it, and I think all of this goes back to my mom kind of lying to me, or like fooling me, where this is a game.
Right.
Like, all of this is a game. Taking tests is a game. And so once it was in that framing in my head, I was like, well, I don't want to win at the game. I want to be good at the game. And so that made everything more approachable and more fun. So my mom, very devious. Woohoo.
Did she also gamify chores?
No. And
Nah.
she am terrible. She reminds me even now that I have no life skills. That's what she says. She goes, you have no life skills. She goes, my biggest regret is never kind of like teaching you or making you do stuff. And that's true.
Yeah. That's a big same here. I got all of the, like my grandparents, who are immigrants from the Philippines. They raised me, in Philadelphia. They put a lot of value into, making sure I do good in school, making sure I learn. They didn't really put a whole lot of value in teaching me anything else. Like I'm good on Bible and school, friends, cleaning stuff, absolutely not. I didn't learn how to do laundry until college, things like that. So I feel you there. Speaking of college, let's now move to there. So it's the turn of the century. I can say that to make us sound even
Y2K.
older. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're now moving past the late 1900s. Exactly.
We're into the early aughts. Talk to me about the plan. Was the plan? It sounds like the plan was always let's go to America for college.
Yes.
So talk to me through.
There wasn't even another option. Like
really?
that was the only option.
Okay.
And the option is which one.
Right. So now I'm actively fascinated. How does one get into an American college from Taiwan in the year 2000?
I took the SATs.
Okay.
They had SATs administered in Taiwan, also the PSATs as well. So I had to get that. I did attend a school that had an IB system, IB and AP system, and so we were able to take those classes. We all kind of cheated, and we all not cheated, but sorry, we all kind of hacked our way into good SAT scores, because back then there was SAT 2s, right? I don't know if that still exists, where you have like these So you would take SATs for specialized subjects, and we'd all
Oh.
take SAT 2 Chinese.
Wow.
Yeah, what a hack.
That infuriates me
Yeah,
as
I'm
someone who
sorry.
remembers the trauma of if there's SAT 2s in game show history, I would like to go redo everything and get my full scholarship. Thank you very much.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd be good. Not Art Fleming. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you've taken your SATs, hate it, and you've gotten a great score, I presume.
I had to do all the applications. That was crazy. Like, you had to write your essay, you had to, prove to it's like, I think my class, we all probably applied to, I don't know if this is the norm or this is just, we applied to like 20 colleges and universities. Like, it was like a scattershot. Your high reaches, your safeties, which I
Right.
know now these days they don't call it safeties.
No, they're safeties.
They're-
Everyone knows. I don't care. I mean, I'm so far removed from the college hunt that I'm sure that my college prep friends will let me know. But yeah, you always have it. I had safety schools, and that was 2005 or so. So just half a decade after you, still same stuff. I think I applied maybe to 7 to 10 colleges.
It's double digits for sure. And Cory, you and I, we're designers, we're creative people. So
yeah,
there's a part of me that was like, I want to go to art school.
And
mom and dad weren't too hot about that. They were, my parents were very supportive, but they also pushed me to want to be better. And so obviously they had not high expectations, but they wanted me to go for like all around good American schools.
right.
And I'm like, oh, what about Pratt? And what about RISD? And, and my mom, I think, so my older sister, she also went to school here in America. She went to an Ivy. And
Ooh.
I think my mom was like, that's too far. Because that would be an almost 20-hour plane ride home. Right, from Philadelphia back to Taipei. And so I think my mom had her eyes set on me being on the West Coast and was trying to convince me, because I'm looking at art schools, they're all on the East Coast. I didn't know anything, I didn't know any better. And she was just like, what about Berkeley? Isn't Berkeley nice? And like, oh, look, there's so many different types of people, and there's skateboarders there, because I was like really into skating, or I was into the aesthetic. And she's like, yeah. and she's like, I heard you don't even have to wear clothes to go to class in Berkeley. She was just really she was trying to pitch Berkeley real hard. And I went to Berkeley.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Similarly, this might be a discussion that we should probably have, because breaking the news to my dad that I wanted to go to college for digital art, especially from a Filipino background. Why aren't you a nurse? Dad, I have zero nurturing qualities in me at all. I have the bedside manner of a bedside table. I'm just going to sit there and do nothing. I had to kind of talk him through. He had very specific ideas, and really, I don't think he ever fully understood kind of what I wanted to do. And part of that was get away from him. So UC Berkeley. Okay. I completely empathize, because I think maybe deep down, part of the reason why going to art school, or why going to a school very far away, is like, I was like, I went to school with Asian people my entire life. Right.
And I kind of want, if I'm going to go to American Studies school, I kind of want to go to a school where there's not a lot of Asian people. I don't know what this says about, my very naive, youthfulness. But and part of me was like, there's a lot of Asian kids in Berkeley. I don't want to go. But I did. And yes, there are a lot of Asian kids in Berkeley, but there's also a lot of other different kids. And I think that was that. Well, first of all, there was marijuana when I landed in Berkeley, California. That was
they just hand it to you right off the plane.
Well, that was a big culture shock.
When you get to Hawaii, it's the same idea.
All those like hash pipe stores on Telegraph. And so that was a big culture shock. But then what really I thought was really cool was when it was you at Berkeley, you'll see the skaters, the stoners, the business kind of entrepreneur people.
Right.
You see the very, very ambitious, like, kind of classic stereotypic Asian kids. You have like hip hop dancers. Just, when you're on campus, there's just all types of people. And then when it's finals time, people are all working really hard studying. And I was like, that is so cool. That like no matter how different we, the different stereotypes or archetypes that we fall into, that when it's time to learn, like we're all in it together and we all want to do better. And I thought and that's when I felt like, oh, this is the place for me.
You could feel that kind of coalescence of everyone kind of leading towards the same goal, even though everyone's in their own different circles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because in my high school or where I grew up, like being competitive and being good at having good grades is cool. Right. It's always being a nerd is kind of cool.
Right.
Scoring high scores is cool.
Yeah. And
so coming to Berkeley where it's like, oh, I don't know where I am. But then once everybody's like, oh no, we want to do better. I was like, oh, okay. I never felt like a nerd or a bullied nerd or that I'm uncool until I started working in the workplace. I was like, oh, I'm cut a little different than most people, but yeah,
the job force will do that to you. But okay, so now you're in America, you're here, you're on your own. I assume you are on your own. You're in the dorms and things like that.
At Berkeley, my freshman year, my roommate was someone from my school.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So we both got in and we're both like, oh, hey, let's, it's going to be a weird transition. Let's kind of room together. Good. And after that, kind of found, I went full into architecture school. So in a way, I was built in with the people that I'd be hanging out or living or working and, laboriously doing work with for the next 4 years. And so that was kind of my tribe. And that was kind of a built-in support group. But yes, I had some family in San Jose, which was probably like an hour and a half away. But really I was by myself. And I think my mom was convinced I was into hard drugs because I was spending money a lot on stupid things. And, like back then it was like tank tops with clouds printed on them and big chunky loafers. I was spent because I didn't, again, no life skills back then.
Right.
And my mom really thought I was like getting really into drug, like I was spending money to buy drugs. But no, I just got a Delia's catalog, and it was online shopping was fairly new and was fairly newly trusted.
Right.
And yeah. So that was my tribe, architecture school, all the way through. And yeah, it's such a blur. I mean, I really grinded.
Because of all the hard drugs you did.
Yes. So many hard drugs. Yeah, I just grinded and I wanted to graduate very quickly because I hated homework. And I hate the fact that after school, I go home and I have more stuff to do. I hate that feeling. And part of me was like, I cannot wait to get a job where I can just like check out when I get home.
Right.
Haha, joke's on me.
Nope.
I'm a millennial. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about the content that you're consuming, if any, in college. What are you watching on TV?
Oh, some bad stuff. Next.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yep. Okay.
Blind Date.
You're diving right into the worst part of
Real World Las Vegas.
Oh God.
Ooh.
Was that the one with the triple kiss?
I think so.
Oh,
Trishelle.
golly.
Yep. This
Yeah.
was at the Palms, when they first opened. What else? Yeah, I didn't have that much time for TV.
Okay, that's fair.
But those I remember very clearly. Also,
Yeah.
it was like, the kind of beginning of, remember Zanga, Live Journal.
Do I remember Zanga?
Oh,
and
yeah,
Live
blogging
Journal.
culture. Tumblr came a little bit later, but like, it was really into like self-expression. But really now when I think about it, I was like, oh, that's super cringe. Yeah.
Well, we have some entries here from your old live journal. No, I'm kidding.
Bring them out. I'm depressed, guys. Yeah.
One of the things I remember for, I want to say my 16th or 17th birthday, I asked my mom to get me a permanent membership to LiveJournal. And
how much was it?
It wasn't that much. I think it was maybe under $150.
That's not bad.
I still have my LiveJournal.
Oh yes, hell yeah.
And so one of the things I've done is I tried to find any of the worst poetry I wrote in high school and early college, and then I ran it through one of those AIs that generate songs just to see.
Yeah.
It's not good. No, not even if you run it through the filter of like, please make it sound like Linkin Park's sad new metal. It's bad. Children should not have emotions. No, I'm kidding. Children should not write them down and then read them when they grow up.
Should not. Oh my God, that's like mortified. I can't.
So
I can't.
You can't and you shouldn't. So now we're so you graduated college, 4 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years?
4 years. 4 years.
4 years. Okay, good 4-year degree in architecture or graphic design. Wow.
Well,
okay.
Funny story. Architecture. During pandemic lockdown,
right.
A lot of us were like, "Hey, we have this kind of time in. Let's try to get our, kitchen renovated, or let's get our dentist appointments." We're trying to do a lot of like not self-care, but like self-organization.
Yeah,
and
kind
of get things in order. Yeah, because we're kind of stuck at home. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I never got my paper diploma from college. So this is what 2020, 2021. Yeah. And I was like, I should get that printed and sent over, right? And so I went on Berkeley's website and I was like requesting. They give me an error email and was like, hey, we can't, there's something wrong. You have to go check with your college. Then I had to email the college. And long story short, a lot of red tape. They had me as not graduated. Like they listed me as someone who did not get all the credits and did not graduate.
Why?
And I was like, I walked. I mean, my parents there, we went to a House of Prime Rib, that's kind of the classic graduation thing. And I was like, what? And they're like, you didn't really officially graduate. And I was like, no, excuse me. I know if I didn't, I was really obsessed about like, getting my units and grades and stuff like that. And I was like honor roll, there's no way. So I a lot of kind of angry, pissy phone calls and frustrated. I'm being like looped around and no one knows anything. Oh, you have to go call billing. Then I have to call billing. And turns out, I think what happened was there was like a late fee that I didn't pay. And so they wouldn't let me graduate. And then it was paid later, but I didn't know it was late. And then I didn't sign back in saying like, I need to graduate now. And so they're like, okay, well, first they gave me some BS about like, you didn't complete these credits. You didn't have this, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, girl, like, I know. And I proved to them I did all the things. And it's like, now they're like, okay, well, you're cleared. And, you don't owe us. You don't owe us money. We say you did. You also completed everything that we said that you didn't. So we'll give you a diploma, but it has to be dated 2021.
No.
My first year was
Oh.
2,000 people. I went to school. I was supposed to graduate 2004. My freshman year started 2000. My diploma said I graduated 2021. And I had no idea. This is like, people are like, this is my nightmare.
Oh my God. That's such a bummer.
Oh yeah, but it made for really good content.
Oh, I bet.
For applying to game shows.
So let's talk about that then. So let's talk about, first off, why did you start applying to game shows?
I didn't. I would take Jeopardy test. There was in my mind, there's no way I can be on Jeopardy. Like, it's not like I'm like, I want to go. I do want to go on Jeopardy. Yeah. I know I'm not good enough. I'm not self-deprecating. Like, I just know. I enjoy trivia. I like trivia. I like the social aspect of it. I like learning about things. I am not on that level. I'm not on your level, Cory.
Oh, I am convinced that my appearance on Jeopardy was a clerical error or a typo or something.
Your personality higher.
Yeah, that's exactly. I remember when I applied to Jeopardy, I've taken the test a few times. I think I may have passed it once or twice and gotten like, you can come to the audition. And I was in like college or working at the time. So no, I could not go to this audition that was, in
LA, yeah,
3 hours away or whatever.
Yeah. Actually, in college, I watched Ben Stein win Ben Stein's money.
Oh, okay.
And I actually did apply online, and this is back then when there was no online tests, or you had to go to a convention hall or a ballroom at a hotel. And so they asked me to fly down to LA to do test and trial to get on Ben Stein. And I passed the written test.
Right.
And then I think I did well in the mock trial. I was very young. I was very, very young compared to a lot of the other people.
Sure.
And then they called me back for taping dates, and I couldn't do it because it was like finals or something.
Dang. Okay.
But it was I just remember it was such a hassle.
Yeah.
Because I didn't live in LA. It was just such a hassle. And I was like, I'm gonna look dumb, like whatever. Like I have finals. This is not as important. But I never thought, there's no way in my mind that I'd ever want to be on game show. It's like fantasy, like, oh, that'd be fun. I want to be on Supermarket Sweep, whatever. It wasn't until I remember very clearly, it was pandemic. It was just a little bit pre-pandemic. I had my first kid. I'm a millennial sex haver, so I'm a mom. My first kid, January 2020.
Oh, jeez.
Yes,
okay. Oof.
End of January 2020. So I remember I was breastfeeding her. I was sitting there and I was looking at my phone. I got an email, and it was like, it was a casting person was like, hey, we're casting for The Weakest Link.
Oh,
would you be, are you interested? Do you want, maybe someone gave them my name or I don't know how they got my email, but they're like, oh, well, if you want to fly down to LA to go to this convention, this like ballroom, and we're going to hold trials and stuff. The date they gave us was like lockdown day. I mean, but none of us knew it at the time, right?
Right, like a March 2020.
Yes, it was. I think it was March 18th, and I was breastfeeding. I was like, I just had a baby. And then we're hearing about this virus. I was like, I'm not. I was like, I'm sorry, I just can't travel right now. So that was that, and then pandemic happened. I don't know what happened to that audition. And then a couple months later, 2020, during the summer, casting agency reached out to me again. They're like, oh, we're rebooting The Chase. Would you be interested? And by that time I wasn't breastfeeding, so I was like, yeah, sure, okay, what do I need to do? In my mind, there's no way I was gonna get. I was like, oh, but it'd be a fun experience. So I first, in a lot of people who've probably auditioned for a lot of shows, and especially The Chase. So first you have to take a test, right? An online test, and they do it in batches where 16 people or more are on a Zoom call, and they give you a link, and you do the test as you're, on screen.
You're like being proctor.
Yes. Yeah. And I get on the Zoom, and out of all the pandemic, I haven't seen like another person who's not another adult who's not my
Right.
husband, in a long time. Right off the bat, I recognize this one dude in the Zoom call who's from our rival pub trivia team.
Oh, okay.
And I, when we used to play pub trivia, of course, like we hated, we hated, but there was like competition between the teams at pub trivia. But I was just so elated to see someone I know. So I completely forgot that I was there to take a test, or it was the chase. I was just like, oh my God, Colin, like, hello, do you remember me? I'm from Baby Dog Time. And and he was kind of like, oh, you're embarrassing me, because I was like, oh my God, it's so good to see you. How are you doing? And I had a baby. It just felt like I wasn't in touch with the outside world for so long.
Right.
And we took the test. Though I wasn't even thinking about the test. I was just like, wow, what a cool thing. I got to see someone else. We took the test. Right after we finished, the casting guy called me and was like, you're on the cusp. You didn't score. You didn't meet the threshold, but you were close. And I was like, oh, okay. They're like, I'm going to give you another chance if you want to take another test. And I was like, okay. And I took the test. And I guess I scored better in the second test, and they're like, we're going to move you through to casting, to the Zoom online interviews and stuff like that. And I think, Cory, like you, I was a personality hire. I think they saw that I was just really excited to see my rival trivia teammate, pub trivia teammate, that I was just like, they're like, okay, she has emotions.
Right.
She looks like she used to share things on Zanga. Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting point. It's a rare story where I don't think I've ever heard someone say, that they got a result back from a casting director so specifically, like, oh, you almost made it. And then a second chance is also very interesting. But
Cory, they're desperate for like cheap California contestants, because they're booting the show. It's pandemic. They're gonna fly in the good people, like my teammate on the chase. They're Jeopardy, ex-Jeopardy champs and stuff.
Right.
They're gonna fly those people in. The rest of us, they're just gonna cast like who's in California, and is like 1 hour plane ride away that we can just use Southwest points on.
That
like
makes sense.
And so, if it were today, where it wasn't kind of restricted by the California only, there's no way I can get on. There's so many cooler people out there.
I don't know about that. I'm going to fight you on that one, because
I'm small fry.
From a casting perspective, like if I were to tick the boxes that I know a lot of casting directors look for on shows like Jeopardy or The Chase. You are not white. You are not a man. You are relatively interesting. You are well-spoken, and you can project your voice. You're 4 for 4. Coupling the fact that you're not a ding-dong, I can absolutely see why The Chase would extend to you that extra try, because, and we'll talk about more about it, you would, on paper, you would make good TV.
I'm not very likable, I think. I think there's the anxious energy about me, and I think I also have an RBF. I mean, I'm telling you, at the workplace, like all of my jobs, like people are either scared of me or think that I don't like them. I do give, once they talk to me and I get into a little bit like trivia, like kind of crazy manic state, then they get a little bit scared as well, or they think I'm weird, which is fine. I'm old enough to be like, I don't care anymore. I don't need
if
people
likability was truly a factor, James Holzhauer would not be on TV. Anyway, so
he's the heel. Yeah.
Back to wrestling. He's quite the heel. So let's go back. So you take the test. They say you're on the cusp. We want you to take it again. You take it again. What happens next?
So then they're like, oh, we're going to move you through. We're going to have a Zoom interview
Right.
with you. And it was it was a Zoom interview plus a mock play.
Okay. Right.
All over Zoom. And they had this is again pandemic, they had very specific setup instructions that was very kind of frustrating in your house. Like you had to have your laptop, you had to be standing up, you have to have your
Right.
laptop propped, eye shoulder height, whatever. You had to dress in a certain way because what they were doing, and it wasn't until after we recorded or we had the Zoom, was they were recording the entire session so that they could give it to a video editor, kind of edit out highlights and mock play, and then kind of submit that to the network or whatever higher beings to be like, here's the casting, here's the reel, here's all of our kind of like snapshots of people. And so they told me go put on lipstick. I was like, I don't know if I have lipstick at home, but I'll make do. And I did the interview, and they were very I mean, I think that's again personality hire. I'm so involved in so many extracurricular activities. I'm interested in so many things. And so I had no problem there sharing like, oh, I make custom Jordan 1s. I also do this. I wrote a book about sharks. I'm from Taiwan. I run a marathon in every state. So a lot of cool facts that they can grab onto. And that we did the mock play. And I did pretty okay with that. It's nerve-wracking. I'm not, and we'll get this, we'll talk about a little bit of this when it was like the day of taping. But yeah, that was the second interview, and then I believe that was it. Then I got an email saying like, hey, what are your availability dates? Well, okay, here's your ticket. Do you want to fly from Oakland or San Francisco? And then, when you land, there's going to be a van that's going to pick you up and take you to a COVID testing site. This was like everybody was face shield. All of us contestants had our own vehicle and drivers with like, big barriers and stuff, really trying to, contain the virus. And yeah, this was taped in November. The hotel they put us at was the hotel next to Universal Studios at the Harry Potter Hogwarts Castle. So I'd wake up and I would see the Hogwarts Castle. Also, they were taping Making It, which is the Amy Poehler, Nick Offerman craft show. The contestants there were also taping that, and I know the contestants were staying in our hotels. Like at night I'd see them saying goodbye to the people who got let go. They're carrying all their craft stuff into their cars.
Man.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, this was 2021, 2022?
This is 2020.
Oh, wow. Okay.
2020, we shot in November.
Right. Okay.
So it happened all really quickly.
Yeah.
The casting call came in the summer, and then kind of went through the Zoom stuff. Also, like in between there was a background check. That I had to supply them with all my social media and other online presence so that they could flag anything. And then there was an option where it's like, would you like us to mail your results? And I was like, yes, please, let's. And I still have that. I'm not a hot take person online, so didn't get flagged a lot. I think what got flagged was there was me and my friends, we used to read Penny Arcade, the old, like the web comic, right? The classic web comic, before PAX and before all that stuff.
Yeah.
And they had a character called Dickosaurus Rex, and it was, and so we made Dickosaurus Rex with a sugar cookie for the holidays, and it was a big penis dinosaur with a frosting squirting out. That's what was flagged.
That's incredible.
I mean, flagged as in like they're like, oh, okay, whatever tracking thing flagged it, but no one was like, oh, okay, this is a
They'll
problem.
let that slide. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not espousing
yeah.
the ideals of the
Thanks,
Third Reich.
Penny
You're just
Arcade.
making. We used to hold the game show marathon in the headquarters of Newgrounds.
Oh,
And, yeah. Tom Fulp is a friend.
wow.
But one year they had boxes and boxes of penicorns, which are for those who don't know, they're unicorns with dicks for horns.
We like hung out in the same
we are
corners
the same
of
person.
the internet.
Yeah, like I have so many Penny Arcade LJ icons.
Wow,
it's kind of bananas.
Newgrounds.
Yeah,
I remember they had like, it was so not PC. Like
No.
some of this,
Oh,
the visual,
no.
it was. But I remember there was like a Sex in the City / game visual novel that was like
Oh, wow.
super inappropriate. There was an Oz version, and there was like, of course, there was so many violent things. Oh God, what a
time. The flagship Newgrounds mascot was a fucking school shooter.
It
So
was
it's
a
like,
school.
yeah.
I was just gonna, yeah.
I mean, this is
Pedro,
the fertile grounds that we have laid upon our foundations. Fucked up, man.
yeah.
But look, we're fine now. We're
Yeah.
functional adults. Anyway, so you're in LA. You're going through that battery of COVID tests and things and isolation. Talk to me about the day of the chase.
Okay, so the day before at the hotel lobby, we had like a little meeting. This is the first time I saw any other contestants.
Okay.
Right. I'm still by myself until I had to go to this foyer and had a little briefing meeting. Everybody's masked up. And so the production assistant was kind of telling us what to expect, who's on who. So there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 other people, 7 other people. They were taping 2 episodes the next day. And then so they told me, oh, okay, well, Alan, Karen, Julio, you guys are on a team. And then, so and so, you guys are on a different team. You're going to be filming the second block. Okay. And then there are two people who were kind of local and they were alternates.
Right.
Just in case one of us, tested positive for COVID.
Makes
and
sense.
So then I was like, okay, I know who are my teammates. Again, social distancing. We couldn't hang out. We could barely talk to each other. We had to be in our hotel rooms by ourselves the entire time. So like, it wasn't like we were hanging out. And so what I did was I just basically, in preparation for this, I printed out at the business center just pages of trivia. I was like, you know what? I'm going to have all this time. Like, why not just print this out and just kind of study and do what, Ben Stein does, which is like read and study trivia. And I remember I brought this entire book of printed paper with me on the next morning when we're taping. I think we were on set at 7 a.m.
That sounds right.
And we were on set and we were in our contestant trailers. And again, each one of us were social distanced. And so we had to stay in our own places. And I was like, you know what? It's really important for us to like feel like a team and for me to like know my teammates, right? And to build rapport. And so what we eventually did, thank God I printed all that stuff. We each stood at the doorway of our trailer and we would yell and I would read off like questions from my printed paper and and then we would like answer and we would try to study together and we're just like standing at our doorways yelling at each other. And it was a great way for us to finally talk to each other. And that's like we got into conversations and so it was a great activity. And I was like, this is great. we're so isolated until this point that I was like, oh, this is really nice. We all discovered that we hated olives because that was part of, the food that they were going to cater or craft services. And that's when very quick, like this was 7 a.m. and we were taping, I don't know, like 8 a.m. or something.
Right.
And so we had very little time to like get prepped and to actually socialize and talk. And then we're kind of went through hair and makeup, again with a lot of face shields,
right?
And we walked onto the set, and before we got onto the set, there was like a production room that we all had to sit together. And a lot of game show contestants know this. You get the talk. Here are the rules. This is the PowerPoint. Right. This is the PowerPoint. Here are the rules. The questions are worth this. They said each question is worth $25K.
Oh, you were on season 1. Oh, okay.
I was on season 1. At that point, I was like, I thought it was the Chase Game Show Network, whatever. Right. Like a question is like $1,000, $2,000. And they're like, oh yeah, each question is $25K. And I literally like, I audibly gasped or collapsed. I was like, what? And Julio turned to me and he goes, this is prime time ABC. And I was like, oh, I thought it was like cute Game Show Network, that grandmas are going to see. Oh, yeah. My God. Then that got to me.
Does that turn the pressure up for you then?
Yeah. At that point, I was like, they put me in pants that are a little bit tight, and I had like a muffin top, and I was just like self-conscious about that, and I was just getting really queasy, and I was like, oh, geez, like I didn't know. I thought this was low stakes, and I was like, just gonna have an experience, because then there's pressure to win, and then I know that if I didn't win, I'm gonna feel so bad about it if it was like so much money left on the table. So
it's really interesting, because I'm now kind of comparing everything that you went through with what I went through when I was on the chase for Game Show Network. And what's also really interesting is that like there was so much information about what was to be expected from the GSN version, because I was so plugged into kind of all the news and everything. So I knew that I was, it was going to be like not small potatoes, but it wasn't going to be like, ABC primetime money, because it was still GSN. So I was in the same mind you were, but I just, the things that really are comparing our two experiences. One, we didn't know who our teammates were until just before shooting, because and I think they do this in the UK too. The whole shtick is these people have never met before, so we were supposed to be truly strangers. And in fact, we didn't have trailers, again, Game Show Network, but we did have a green room in the back. My green room buddy was Raj Dawalia, who Jeopardy champion, big trivia guy. Nervous as all hell. I'm like, bro, you are super duper smart. You'll be fine. And come to find out afterwards, he was on the pilot of the GSN chase that filmed in the UK. So it's like, bro, why are you so nervous? You've done this so much.
You've done this before.
Stop shaking your leg. You're making me fucking annoyed. But he went on first. So most of the day, I'm just by myself in a green room with like a PA.
Yeah.
But again, because we are the same person, I had brought with me a book. I had a book, like a book this thick of Trivial Pursuit questions. And I would just sit there and just kind of read them until I got sick of it. Then I would read the one issue of Entertainment Weekly that was in the green room. And then I would go back. Yeah. Oh yeah. I was learning all about the secrets of ER. So it's interesting that you not only were cognizant of who your teammates were the night before, but also were able to start to have some kind of a rapport with them, no matter how much time you had, because I met my team walking on stage. So it's interesting to see how the same show with a lot of the same people get produced differently during different times.
Yeah.
Because also we got to hang out inside and we had Chinese food delivered to us as crafty. we didn't do any COVID tests back then because that wasn't a thing. It's crazy to just kind of look at that in comparison. So
even when we were on stage, if you look at the stage, we were socially distanced. Like we
Right.
couldn't even hear each other standing next to each other because we were so far away. But like, again, I think I just felt after pregnancy and giving birth and lockdown, I think I just was craving for human interaction and being social. And so I was like, what a weird thing we're in, guys. Like, hey, let's bond because this is real weird and I feel real alone and real sick, like kind of sick to my stomach. And I understand. Look, some people are made for the spotlight.
Mhm.
Some people thrive in the spotlight. I am not that person. I kind of just blacked out. I was so nervous. Also, I was the first contestant. We were the first episode taped.
Oh, wow.
On that new set, it was new
Mhm.
everything, new host, right?
Right.
Lights were breaking, there were sound issues,
Yeah.
things were going wrong, and so we had to like retape a lot of the. I had to retape a lot of the wrong answers I was giving out, because something happened.
Right.
But, again, like when they're going through the rules, they of course have an auditor there to like make sure, like, hey, we're dealing with money. You have to be fair.
Right.
No colluding and stuff like that. And so they were on set so that when things were not working, stop the timer. Very, very fair. This is where we were. I was really impressed with that. I was really impressed with that. And yeah, buzzer, that's something I've never practiced, and so my buzzer speed is not good. And I know that now afterwards that people practice that muscle memory, that reflex a lot. And so if you watch my episode, which I don't think it's like you can find it anymore, season 1
Well, we can find it
in a black hole. I didn't really answer a lot of things because I wasn't fast on the buzzer, even though we knew a lot of things. I also choked. I completely choked. Like it was just scary. It was super scary. I was really self-conscious because I used to be in really great shape. Then I locked down and then I had a baby and I just wasn't really feeling myself. So I was like, now I have to be on TV. And I just blacked out. And I remember I had so much more fun watching my teammates and kind of having fun. I had a lot of fun like being there watching my teammates, and when it was time for me to participate, I just kind of blacked out. And then we went against Brad Rutter.
Easy money.
Well, I love him. He's such a glow up, and he's really, I feel like he's so underrated. I really like him. I think we're kind of made to want Ken Jennings or boo James Holtower, but Brad Rutter, he's runner from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where I went to. I didn't talk about this before, but I went to like geek camp during the summer in the States, and one of them was in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
I want to talk so much about the chase, but what the fuck is geek camp?
Geek camp, CTY, like it's called CTY. I think they make kids take the SAT tests when they're like in 6th grade. If they score like a certain score, then they get to be invited to go to this like gifted summer camp that is like in Johns Hopkins. It's a Johns Hopkins program. And this is for people age, I think, like 12 to 16 during the summer. So I came to America to live like in the college, but prior to that in high school, I would come to America for the summers to an Amish town, Lancaster, not Lancaster.
No, Lancaster. Yep. Christian would throttle me if I took over his podcast for the day and called it Lancaster.
Lancaster.
We've determined your time on the chase on stage felt like a blur.
Yes.
And that happens to a lot of people. Tell everyone who cannot find this episode what happened. What was the end result?
We won. And I watched the classic chase, and it's like, you'd have to win with like 20 plus correct answers in the bank. And I was like, I wasn't looking at the time. I was like, oh man, we only have like 14. There's no way. We had a lot of comebacks thanks to me.
Hey, there you go.
Thanks, Uncle Jeff Bezos, who I used to work for. Questions about Amazon. And then we won. My team carried me. LeBron's teammate gets the ring too, and
Exactly.
I got a ring. And we won $400K split among 3 people. All 3 of us
My
made
goodness.
it to the final chase.
Good.
And we got our paychecks, and they did ask me on air what I would spend the money on. And I said I want to take like private skateboarding lessons because I want to do sick tricks on a half pipe.
Right.
And then probably spend the rest on medical bills from said half pipe. But what I still, I didn't do that. But I did start a charity fund. And
Tell me about that.
Yeah, I started a charity fund that, I don't know if people know, but I also run a hobby like trivia podcast. And so we're all about learning and weird like animal facts and weird facts and board games and quizzy stuff like that. So we started this kind of charity with my winnings, and we would donate. We would all at the end of the year each pick like a nonprofit that we think kind of embodies like the trivia-ness of us, and then we'd give out money and we'd
That's awesome.
donate to them. Yeah. We have a lot of like Girls Who Code, local things like a bio bus in New York City where they have like actual school buses and they teach like kids science, it like held in the bus, which is really cool. And the different things. So that's what fun things did I spend my money on? I think that was probably the funnest things.
I bought a recliner and a bed.
Woo!
I know, it's both used still to this day.
Wow.
I know.
We lived in the Bay Area. It was not, to be honest, we're like, so much money. And then after taxes, living in the Bay Area, it's like,
this is not that much money.
I can't even, it's not enough to help me out with a down payment. Yeah.
No. So if we were to end this on kind of a note that encapsulates kind of everything, what are your takeaways from the experience of being on the chase, outside of like the ability to start this awesome charity fund, which we will ask for a plug in a bit? But what's the big takeaway? I'm making you do my work for me. It's great.
Yeah. I'm thinking, I think it's in true millennial spirit, it's all about the experiences and not about the things. So I think it was a cool experience, but for me, it was becoming friends with my teammates.
Sure.
That's, we used to text a lot more before because we went through this crazy thing. But SporkleCon last year, I hung out with Julio, my teammate, most of the time there. And we would meet up at times. I thought that was something that I really thought was what a big prize is to share this experience with those 2 people. And that I love playing game shows, and God, we don't have time. I so want to talk about Game Changers from Dropout TV, which I think is so cool. It's like, so like, I really love playing the game shows, but I'm not meant for the stage. So I'd love to play. This is why I love escape rooms, right? It's kind of like a game show, and I love doing that. I'm just not made for TV. And that's okay.
That's okay. You are always welcome to come to the game show marathon where it's all games and no one's watching anyway. So
no.
Just kidding.
Then why are we sponsoring you? No, I'm kidding.
Good. That you're just giving your money to Penny Arcade, really.
Happy
in a roundabout way you are. Plug stuff. Tell us real quick. Tell us about your podcast. Tell us about your charity.
Good Job Brain, long time running podcast, still a pretty indie, garagey operation. But we have a lot of fans. And so if you like trivia in a not very competitive and a silly kind of vibe. That's us, goodjobbrain.com. And then we have the Good Job Brain Charity Fund, which is also on the website you can find. And that's, hey, nominate your favorite kind of nonprofits and organizations that you feel like embody the love of trivia, and we'll look into that. And so, yeah, every year's end, we try to give like some money out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Karen, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. And
thank you.
We hope to see you on another game show real soon.
Oh,
Sam
they won't
Reich,
take me.
if you're listening.
They won't take me because I won,
Oh, no. They'll take you if you won, trust me. I did the conversion. If we took your version of the chase and converted it to the values of my version of the chase.
Yeah.
So you won 400K, which would divide by 5 would take you down to 80K. My team, because we were $5,000 at a cash builder, so that's where the 5x comes from. We won 180K.
Whoa.
Which, if you times that by 5, would be it's 900K, which would be yeah. So no, they'll let you back on. It's fine. You just, especially now, it's been 7,000 years since the pandemic started. You'll be fine. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's and the other takeaway is my my dumb work fun fact. Every time you start a job, you're like, tell us about a fun fact or truth, and lie. And it's like, one of them's like, I was on a game show or I won on a game show.
It's always such a good back pocket thing to ask.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Exactly.
All right.
Tell Us About Yourself, Conversations with Game Show Contestants, is hosted, produced, and edited by me, Christian Carrion, from my studio in beautiful downtown Lancaster City, Pennsylvania. Co-executive producer Cory Anotado, researcher Chuck Donegan. This has been a production of BuzzerBlog, the most popular game show website in the world, in partnership with the National Archives of Game Show History at the Strong National Museum of Play in Rochester, New York. For more information, visit museumofplay.org. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Christian Carrion. Good night. Tell Us About Yourself is sponsored by bonusround.ca, streaming Canada's classic game shows on demand. Dive into the golden age of television with thousands of episodes of Canadian series that defined an era from anywhere in the world, all for just $1.99 a month. From iconic shows like Let's Make a Deal and Definition to cult classics like Bumper Stumpers and The Mad Dash, bonusround.ca brings you timeless entertainment that's fun, enlightening, and affordable. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, relive the magic of Canadian television history. Subscribe now at bonusround.ca for $1.99 and turn every night into Game Show Night. By Game Show Forensics. Join host Robert McKee and his crack team of forensic game show scientists as they take you on the deepest dives imaginable in a quest to analyze the most detailed minutia of game shows nobody else dares to, or cares to, investigate. Nothing is too whimsical for examination, no semantics too absurd for the research extremists at GameShowForensics.com. Parental discretion is advised. And by The Inn at Leola Village. Nestled in the heart of picturesque Pennsylvania, the Inn at Leola Village is a sanctuary of luxury and relaxation. Indulge in the timeless beauty of their historic suites, each meticulously designed to transport you to a bygone era of elegance and grace. Experience the culinary delights of their award-winning Italian restaurant, where every dish is a masterpiece crafted from the finest local ingredients. From romantic getaways to corporate retreats, the Inn at Leola Village offers a haven for every occasion. Unwind at the spa, stroll through the lush gardens, and let the stress of everyday life melt away. Make your reservation today at theInnatLeolaVillage.com or call the front desk at area code 717-656-6666. 57002. The Inn at Leola Village, an oasis of luxury.